In today's video, we're going to talk about formatting the Works Cited page and in-text citations for your research paper. All right, so starting off, let's start with the Works Cited page. Let's start here because as you were creating your research log, you were also collecting the information that you needed for the Works Cited page. So this is probably something that you can make first. Okay, so a works cited page is a list of the works that you referenced in the body of your paper. So this is different than a bibliography. A bibliography is a list of sources that you used when you researched. Not all of those sources made it into your paper. A works cited page is instead a list of those things that you did use when you wrote your paper. You must give credit to the authors from whom you've quoted and paraphrased, even when you've gotten ideas from them as well. Remember, we talked about all of this when we had our lesson on avoiding plagiarism. These authors, articles, books, videos, websites, etc., these will appear on the works cited page, referenced in a very specific way and containing the publishing information for each. Now, as you know, you can have some sort of online bibliography creator to help you to formulate what each of these types of sources looks like in the citation. We're looking at the works cited page as a whole today. All right, so basic formatting rules for the works cited page, MLA style. Begin your works cited page on a separate page at the end of your research paper, okay? It's going to still have the same 1-inch margins and your last name and page number header as the rest of your paper. So it's you don't have to create a separate document. It's just when you're done typing out your paper, hit insert page break and start a new page. You're going to label the page with the words works cited. That's not italicized, it's not bolded, it's not underlined, none of that. Those words, that title is going to be centered at the top of the page. Only the title should be centered. The rest of the page, all the citation entries, are going to be aligned with the left margin, left justified, just like the rest of your paper. You're going to double space all your citations, but avoid the temptation to skip lines between entries. A lot of people go, but I think it looks better when it's spaced out. Okay, maybe it does. I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with you at all, but that's not proper MLA style. So there is a better way with this format that you'll see in a minute that will help the reader to be able to designate very easily between the citations, between the sources that you have on the page. Here it is. Indent the second and subsequent lines of citations. Okay, so you're going to hit tab. So what you have is a hanging indent. The beginning of the citation is right against the left margin, but the second line or third line or however many lines below, those are indented. So you have like this little bit sticking out to the left is what it ends up looking like. So it's very easy to identify the different sources on there. And of course, the citations should be alphabetized, and these things are alphabetized by the first word of the citation, which in many cases is going to be the author's last name, but not always. Sometimes you don't have an author, and we're going to look at that a little bit later. All right, so here's an example. There's a works cited page. Okay, I got this off of Purdue University's online writing lab. I put here, hi, I am my own page. It's its own page. The page is titled. The title is centered. Okay, citations are left justified, double spaced, and alphabetized, D, E, G. We have 3 entries on this section of the works cited page. The second line of each citation is indented. Look at that. So here's what's called your hanging indent. This is how we can easily see that there are 3. And of course, there are no skipped lines between entries. That double spacing continues, and there's no extra lines needed. Okay, so there are so many programs out there, I mentioned this earlier, that will create the proper citation for each of your resources. These will create this information here. You just take that information as it asks you for it, and you plug it in, and the bibliography generator will then spit it out in the correct format for you. There's EasyBib, there's BibMe, there's MyBib, there's even, here's the site for you, there's even one on the Purdue University online writing lab. Okay? All right, next topic, in-text citation. So this is in the body of your research paper, where you have your quotation marks and your paraphrases and so on. Okay, so an in-text citation. This is the best way to avoid plagiarism. When you borrow someone else's words or ideas, or even paraphrase, you need to give credit to the original author. We do this by adding information related to the original source in parentheses after the quoted or paraphrased material. Okay, so if you remember back to my choosing and integrating quotes lesson, I quoted from Edgar Allan Poe because you guys know how much I love Edgar Allan Poe. So after my quote, I added the following parenthetical citation. So if you have a look right here, within parentheses, we have the word Poe and the number 3. Now, this information tells my reader that my quote came from page 3 of a work written by someone named Poe. Okay, so that's what we know from that information. Okay, so an in-text citation is going to lead a reader back to the works cited page. So here's where you're going to see the connection between your in-text citations and your works cited page. There is a very tight connection between the two. So think of it like this. The in-text citations, this is in the body of your paper, are the tags that lead a reader from the quoted and paraphrased material in your essay back to the original source. And that original source, of course, is found on that works cited page. Therefore, what appears in the in-text citation must be the same as the first part of the source entry on the works cited page. Okay, so if you have a look, we're back to our example works cited page from before. Now, I found a wonderful quote. I actually did. This is actually true quote that came here. This review, I just went to this website. There it was still. And I found this, and I used it, let's just say I used it in my research paper. So here's what I did. Of course, I integrated it properly into my own sentence. To highlight the importance of addressing climate change, Ebert writes of the documentary An Inconvenient Truth, quote, "In 39 years, I have never written these words in a movie review, but here they are. You owe it to yourself to see this film." And here you see Ebert just there. Good? Now, notice how my in-text citation contains the word Ebert. And this one word leads us immediately back to the original source of the quote. Simple and logical. So what you see, if you quote from this, here this is also a website, you see, from the New York Times. If I quote this, I'm going to have Dean in my parentheses here, okay? It's online. It's not really going to have a page number, but if I come down here and I look, this is a journal. This is actually print material, and you can see this article from John Gowdy was found on pages 27 to 36 of the International Journal of Sustainable Development and World Ecology. So if I quote something from this source, it's going to be in parentheses. It's going to say Gowdy, space, and then whatever page number it came from, 28. For example, there's no P or anything like that. It's a space and just simply a number. Okay, so this is the one I get all the time, especially now that we're using a lot more online resources. So what happens if there is no author given for my source? And we have discussed that, you can find a reliable resource that doesn't actually have an author's name. So this is what I'm going to do. I found an example again from the Purdue Online Writing Lab. Take a look at this entry. Okay, so what you see here, there is no author. The author's name is simply left off. If there had been an author, it would be another piece of information that was put right here. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is the name of the article that came from this website. Okay, this is the bigger source it came from. Okay, so on and so on and so on. Now, if I need an in-text citation for this source, what information will I use? Now this, I want to remind you of the lesson I gave you earlier, okay, that the purpose of the in-text citation is not only to give credit to the author, but it's a tag, okay? So the information that's contained within the parentheses is the information that's sticking out, see, the hanging indent, sticking out on the works cited page. So I'm going to need to use the name of the article. Now notice that's really long, and you probably don't want to fill your paper with that so many times. So what I did here, I'm going to write it like this: the impact of global warming. I did not include this part. Now if I had another resource that had this as the title, and I needed to use that title too, I would have to continue and put in North America versus another article that might say, in Europe or something like that. So you just want to make sure that whatever is here will lead your reader right back immediately and quickly to the correct source material. Sometimes readers want to go back and check your information, read the original article, or maybe they want to use that original article in their own research. So it's really important that this information is accurate. All right, and those are the basics. For more detailed and specific information, visit the Purdue University Online Writing Lab at al.purdue.edu. This has been a Mrs. Bryant's Classroom production. Have a great day.